Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenet. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is Tommy. First time screening of 2001: A Space Odyssey. We are joined by our friend Film School Dad. You can follow him on YouTube at Film School Dad. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us here. You were excited. You were hyped up, ready for 2001.
I'm always excited to see 2001. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I'm excited to hear what you thought about it too, because you never saw it before your whole life. That's correct.
Yeah. First time. So Tim and I, this is like an origin story for us. We're like when we started the podcast, there were some big movies we thought of. I mean, like, I know we first started off with like Scrooge for some reason, which like we're kind of like not sure what to cover. We're like, going back
Christmas,
and forth. Like,
it was Christmas time. Yeah.
What Christmas movie have you seen? And like, I suggested Black Christmas, which has a guy from 2001 in it. The main guy from 2001's in Black Christmas also. So, but then 2001: A Space Odyssey was like a big one. And Tim told me, like, Tommy, wait until you can see this in theaters. Like, you are not going to enjoy this if you watch it for the first time at home. Like, trust me. So I was like, okay, I trust you. I will wait. And Yale University, which is right near me, they do film screenings on like 35 millimeter prints of like old movies and free to the public. I'm not a Yaley, so I was like, fuck yeah, I'll invade their campus. And they're doing a Kubrick series this semester. So they did every single Kubrick movie on film. I wish I was able to see more, but I was able to make some time for 2001 specifically. And what a fucking screening. I mean, seeing it on film was like incredible. And it's very funny because I rewatched it earlier today just to refresh my mind. And immediately I could tell a difference of like what this movie feels like at home versus in theaters. I enjoyed it a decent amount more in theaters than I did on this rewatch. Because I think it's just a matter of like, you're more locked in when you're in the theater and you're just surrounded by the darkness, where I watched in the afternoon today and like, my blinds were open and I could see the sunny, like day outside and stuff like that. So it's like, you're not able to get as like immediately locked in as you were in theaters.
Yeah, it's definitely a lock-in kind of movie for sure. I think I don't think it's even possible to watch this the way like modern kids are watching. Like, you can't really text and watch the movie because you'll miss the like. It's not even that you'll miss like the subtleties. It's like you'll lose the hypnotic state that you need to sort of be in to really take in everything that the movie's giving you.
It subdues you. There is a beauty to the mundaneness of everything, like, and it's hard for us, right? Because like I'm talking for myself here, but we all grew up on Star Wars. We grew up with like fast-paced science, fantasy, action kind of a thing. Sci-fi before this was like the joke, the bottom of the barrel of like the movies that the studios pumped out, and like any realism towards that just did not exist. And then, trying to put yourself back almost 60 years now to this movie coming out, like, it's jaw-droppingly beautiful. Like, every frame is a picture, is gorgeous. It's a masterful shot, but it's so realistic. And especially with like the fever race to the moon that was going on in the 60s at this time, the space race and everything, you have that kind of imagery there. But like, my takeaway rewatching this is like, there is such a beauty to the mundane. Like, this is all an operation now. This is not discovery yet, at least at the very beginning, early phases. It's like, this is where we have gotten to. And then the movie switches into that kind of discovery phase with how and everything going forward there. But for me, it is that rhythm, it is that motion. Um, and a hypnotic state, I would say, is a really good way to describe it. But I would say for me, the one thing I will always remember when I saw this in a movie theater, because I had watched it once, I was telling you guys before, I was like hungover, college day, it was on Netflix. I had my computer on my bed, just like hitting play, like
Ideal way.
I did exactly how Stanley Kubrick imagined somebody watching his film, was the way that I was going about it. And then I waited because I read up on it. It was like, watch this one in a movie theater. Okay. I waited. And then 2018 re-release, the Nolan remaster, which apparently I was doing research, there's some controversy on because apparently he made that copy of the film more yellow because it was more vivid to his memory of the
Of, like, the worn out film print.
worn out film
I didn't
print
hear that. I didn't hear that. Oh,
from
Yeah,
when he
yeah,
was
yeah. I
there.
heard about this.
So there's like a whole controversy. I didn't know about this
Nolan's always
controversy.
getting in trouble.
Oh, he's always getting in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Nolan's balls are so big. He's like, I can like recolor 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Just make them bigger. Just make them
Yeah.
bigger.
just make it big. It's not like I tried to make 2001 a couple years earlier. But I think for me, this movie really is like sound design. I think is like the most important thing to me about this movie, and it's the one thing that'll stick with me in this from that theater going experience. And you were talking about like the hypnotic rhythm of it, the sound, and then the lack of sound coexisting with each other in this film, like really elevate it. And I think
It
add
makes it
to that
breathless.
hypnotic, and it adds to that hypnotic rhythm that
Mhm.
you're talking about. Like whether it's the dawn of man time that we're talking about, and it's just, um, and it's all just like animal sounds, and it's like the fear, the paranoia of the early man, the Homo sapien, like cowering in fear as the leopard is prowling the fields and everything. I think to me, that is the one outstanding feature that I think maybe doesn't get its light and day, if you will.
Mm.
I agree. I don't think I hear a lot about the sound design. I think you hear a lot about the visuals, the
Mhm.
foresight of the science fiction, right? And
Mhm.
then I think you hear a lot about like the deeper meanings, but you don't hear a ton about sound design. And as soon as you said it, and like the lack of and the sound, I immediately thought of you hear the screeching kind of chanting in the background, like, for example, when the monkeys first see the monolith, right? And there's this big, almost like, event happening in
Mhm.
the soundscape, and,
Mhm.
when it's over, it's absolute silence. I
And it
mean,
makes it.
it's so loud that I
Mhm.
wanna, like I'm like, "Oh, this is kinda loud." And then
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
nothing. It's absolute silence. It's done. The monolith has done its thing, it's over, and you hear, like, nothing, and then it's like crickets again. It kinda takes you back into the landscape, but yeah, 1,000,000%, I think the audio and the music choices, which
It's incredible. Yeah, it really adds to it, just the music itself. And even like on this second watch I did at home today, 2 weeks after I saw it in theaters, like my sound system was able to pick up on like how hypnotic and weird and like unnerving it is just to hear nothing but the heavy breath of the guys in the space chute, which sounds like me after
yes.
I walked up a flight of stairs, just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
panting
That
constantly.
sounds like a
Whereas just like
cardio issue, Tommy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But like you said, when you hear the monolith, you just hear the chanting, it just really gets underneath your skin. It's just like, oh my god.
And the monolith itself having its own theme song, essentially, just the which is what like the overture preludes are, where it's just
Mm,
Yeah.
this like operatic chant going
Yes.
on, where you're just like, this
mm.
is of some mythical being here, and there's so much. We're gonna shoot over our usual hour limit here, aren't we? Trying to
Yeah, yeah.
dissect this one here. I can
So
already
good.
feel it. Go get yourself some popcorn, lock in. It's gonna be a good episode. It's gonna be a very good episode. So briefly, fellas, if you'd want, we can keep this brief. Movies we watched recently. I can kick it off here. I'll start it off. I went to the movie theaters and I saw The Devil Wears Prada 2. My girl, we just covered The Devil Wears Prada 1. It was fresh in mind. I'm like, let's go, girl. I want to go see it, and I think it's good. I think it's very timely. I think it deals a lot like, it's not like a timely, like, "Oh, AI is bad" thing, like, it doesn't really focus on that, but it focuses more on, like, the corporate syncreties of everything kinda being taken over by venture capitalists and, the shrinking of industries, the instability of jobs, like, I felt like, especially with all the words of, like, mass layoffs from all these huge companies coming, I thought that part of it was very timely. Um I felt like, all the performances were great. It was great to see Meryl Streep back. She's the best. And it was interesting to see this Miranda Priestley character with a little bit of like her foot back. Like she wasn't fully in control the way that she was in the first movie. But it also like the plot beats rang a little similar for me, if it will. Like there are twists in there. It's not the exact same movie, but definitely like the overarching plot beats between Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep's characters kind of intersected there if I had to criticize it. But it's a really fun time at the movie. Go take your lady. She'll enjoy it. I enjoyed it. Uh Double Wars Prada 2. Good movie. Good movie.
Oh yeah. Still gotta see it. I'm gonna see it this upcoming weekend. Because I had a blast when we covered that last week. For me, I saw a couple movies in theaters recently. I'll touch upon briefly. I saw revival screenings of Fight Club and Silence of the Lambs. Two like amazing 90s movies rocked in theaters. But what I want to talk about is the one that Timmy said we're probably never going to cover on the pod because he said he didn't really care for it when he watched it years ago. That's Adventureland. Rewatched
Mhm.
Adventureland for the first time in a few years, and it's a classic case of a marketing really failing a movie because for Tim and I, we were in high school when Adventureland came out. I was in like ninth grade. I think you were in 10th grade.
Have you
And
ever seen it?
I think so. Is that, Jesse Eisenberg?
Mhm.
yeah, and Kristen
I'm
Stewart.
kind of, like, mixing it up with Zombieland, though, so
Because yeah, he
I
had
know I
two.
think I saw it once.
Yeah, he had 2 amusement park movies in the same year, which is wild. But Adventureland, like, the way they marketed it for, people, it's by Greg Mottola, who directed Superbad 2 years before. That was a massive hit, and they marketed it to be, "This is the next raunchy comedy by the director of Superbad." So, when we saw it, like, back in high school, like, we were like, "The fuck? Like, this is not Superbad." Instead, like, it's a thoughtful coming of age story with, like, a great soundtrack and, like, more meditated than like Superbad is. It has some funny moments, but I wouldn't call it like a fucking boner comedy or a laugh out loud comedy in a way that Superbad can be. So, it was a good rewatch. I mean, it also introduced me to my favorite band of all time, The Replacements. So I always have a special place in my heart for that. But I just think that like years later, now that you don't have the marketing campaign to really like destroy your movie or just make you think you're watching something else, you can actually appreciate for what you're getting it for. And that's why I felt with this rewatch of Adventureland.
Maybe I'll have to dive back into it. I'm assuming me at the time wanted another Superbad and just did not get that.
Yeah, because you think it's gonna be like, oh, like this, and it ends up being like Kristen Stewart and Jesse Eisenberg like crying and like confronting each other in scenes, and like Jesse Eisenberg, it really captures that feeling of like post college where like you're not sure what your life is gonna be and like where my life is like heading towards the direction wise and stuff like that. And I feel like for us at like the age of 14 or 15, that didn't resonate with us. We're like, what? Like, what is that? What's that experience? So check it out.
Yeah, I think I might give it a rewatch because I don't even remember much about the movie. It almost, like, plays like a trailer in my mind, but, it sounds like a good recommendation, and, yeah, I think marketing sometimes really can affect, what you think a movie's gonna be, and then you're disappointed because you have an expectation, right? That's why
Mm,
if at all possible, it's nice to see a movie without a trailer.
I
I wanna ask you later, how much you knew about 2001 before you saw it or
mm.
because that's a similar idea, but, last thing I saw in theaters was actually Project Hail Mary. I
Oh,
assume you
yeah.
guys probably saw that, right?
Mhm.
Mhm. Great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Uh,
space.
yeah, I loved it. It was great. I don't I don't like it as much as, Interstellar or 2001, and I see a lot of people saying, like, it's better than Interstellar or it's like the modern version of it, and, I think they're just so absolutely different. I really enjoyed Project Hail Mary as, like, a fun family science
Mhm.
fiction, like,
Mhm.
buddy, comedy. I don't know, about you guys, but I had read the book,
I had
and the
not.
book the book is
Yeah, I'm not.
miles better than the film, and I wonder if it maybe ruined my viewing of the movie. I don't know if you've ever done that, but the book is very science heavy, and you
Mm,
kind of solve these big problems along with Grace. And in the movie, Grace is kind of easy, smart, so that he can be funny. But in the book, he's just very smart, and he is the narrator of the book. So you're in his head while he's doing equations and trying to figure things out. And it's just really engaging on a way that the film tries to be visually engaging, and it is. But the book is it's just such an excellent story that it kind of spoiled the film for me. But I think either is
mm.
worth experiencing, reading the book or watching the movie. I think they're both great.
Well,
Yeah.
it's good that like Hollywood's realizing again that like people just like to see like popular books on the big screen. I mean, like we had the hit of Housemaid a few months ago, where like that was popular because every girl read that book apparently, and
My
like
wife read
there
the
you
book.
go.
Yep. My partner at
Yeah,
work read the book. Yep. 100%. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So like that's where it gained towards, and I agree with you. I mean, I loved it. I thought it was a really good movie, but it's like on a slightly lower tier than 2001, and maybe even Interstellar. So
Yeah.
Y
I mean,
I think it was just for me, I remember just being like, "I really, really like this." I like that there's, like, a positivity spin in an age of gloom where, like and kinda moving on from that 2010s, like, dystopian kind of theming that had been in science fiction, but
absolutely.
there's too much humor in the movie for me where I'm like, I'm supposed to be taking these people seriously, like, at some point, like, you need to cool like, my favorite part of that movie was, Sign of the Times, like, I loved that part, like, that was a great
mm,
resonating moment,
Right.
and it just
Not in the book. It's not in the book.
yeah, I can't
yeah, yeah.
I'm assuming it wasn't, I don't even know if the song was out at the time, but I thought it was a nice addition to the movie. Now, it is time for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It forever changed the way we look at space. The mystery, the grandeur. Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, 2001, A Space Odyssey. One of our favorite movies. Thursday night at 8 Eastern on TNT.
2001: A Space Odyssey is a 1968 epic science fiction film produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick, who co-wrote the screenplay with Arthur C. Clarke. Its plot was inspired by several short stories optioned from Clarke, primarily The Sentinel, An Encounter in the Dawn. The film stars Keir Dullea, Gary Lockwood, William Sylvester, and Douglas Rain, and follows a voyage by astronauts, scientists, and the sentient supercomputer HAL 9000 to Jupiter to investigate an alien monolith. Now, if you were going to describe 2001: A Space Odyssey in a paragraph, that's probably the most concise way to do it.
Yeah.
I I don't think there really is a way to describe a movie like this that is evocative of feelings and themes. And it's a very interesting blend of and the timing of it is like kind of perfect where you have this hard science fiction, right? Like really true, really to the point. And then you blend it with psychedelic themes and visuals. And this coming out in 1968 in the wave of a summer of love and everything like kind of creates this like pop culture phenomenon because a movie like this should have been destined to not do well at the box office. It had a reported budget of $10.5 million and made 148.5 million. Like that is
Well, it's funny, it took a while for it to get to be a financial success, so, like, basically, MGM was, like, planning to pull it back from theaters, but a lot of theater owners were like, "No, you gotta keep this movie in theaters," and what the owners realized was a increasing number of young adults at the time were attending the film, so a lot of them were just, like, taking drugs and, like, fucking acid or shrooms or whatever, and, like, peaking during the Stargate sequence where, like, you had the light show and stuff like that, so that's one of the reasons this movie ended up becoming so big that, like, yeah, I can imagine you take, like, a little tab of acid, then you're like, you time it out for like right during the light sequence, you're like, holy shit, man. It's probably like mind blowing at the time. Even on sober it was.
I think they were advertising it as the ultimate trip.
Yeah.
I think there were posters that said the ultimate trip, so they were definitely kind of, going around, with that, and it works.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think it was like the ultimate like space trip or something like that, like something aeronautical, and then somebody was like, no, let's just call it the ultimate trip, okay? I think you're gonna attract more people to go to the movie theater.
Keep the ultimate trip. It's much cleaner.
Yeah.
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 Thanks, Justin Timberlake in the Social Network. I appreciate that. I feel like it's more interesting to talk to you, Tommy. And what did you know about this movie? We had mentioned asking you this before, but like there is clear pop culture osmosis from this movie,
Mhm.
everywhere. Like
Yeah,
what
definitely.
what had you heard about this movie or seen or whatever that could relate back to this?
Well, I was thinking about like, you remember how I've talked about this before in the podcast, how Bravo used to have around Halloween, like the 100 scariest movie moments and like specials like that, where they'd break down like different
Hmm.
horror movies or like thriller movies or scary sequences in movies. And this was one of the movies that they covered. And it covers it specifically that open the bay doors, Hal, and like he's not able to get into it. So I knew about Hal, and Hal, I think, has been in a lot of things in general. It's a big like pop culture staple of the 60s, and so I knew that going in. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think this was gonna be like a thriller movie whatsoever. But I also knew the opening of like the Dawn of Man sequence, probably because of Barbie covering it like 3 years ago. Remember how
Okay.
Barbie parodied that in the beginning?
Hmm.
True, true, true.
So,
I think it's
so there's that too.
homage.
Yeah, homage. And then
But
I
did you
remember
know it was 2001 at the time when you saw Barbie?
I did because people were like saying like, oh, like the opening of Barbie like parodies
Okay, okay.
2001.
Sure.
And I know that South Park parodied this movie. There's one episode where like goes Trapper Keeper 9000. Cartman becomes like like a monster, and then Kyle has to go in, and it's like when fucking David Bowman goes into the mainframe, and like it's
Ah,
just like the
yeah.
same thing, and Cartman does a voice like, "I can't let you do that, Kyle."
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Okay, so
that's what I
you
knew.
you were aware of parts of the film that were in the zeitgeist, but you didn't know what the movie was about.
No, no. I mean, I figured it was about
Cool.
space and Odyssey. I mean, I figured those two things, but other than that, not much.
Well, here's the real question, right? Because like I just like Tim, I want to know what your experience was seeing it for the first time. But like, here's the big question: like, what do you think it's about? Not the
Okay.
plot. Like, not what's the plot. Don't tell me what the plot is. Like, what do you think it's about? Because you saw it twice now. I'm sure
Yeah.
the first time is kind of confusing. Like, you're taking a lot of things in. You're seeing things. There's a lot of interesting things that connect that you might not know connect the first time you're watching because of how the information's given out. But like, yeah, what do you think it's about? What's
Yeah, yeah, put me on the spot. So I'm thinking that like
right?
yeah, yeah, right there. So first watch, like you said, like I was just taking it in. I was just like appreciating it and being like, holy shit and stuff like that. Like what's going on? This is so amazing. This is so trippy and everything like that. I think that in some ways it's like I wouldn't say it's mostly about the hubris of man like other space movies are, but I think it's just like the exploration of like the unknown and not knowing what's out there and how ultimately the universe is so vast that there's going to be things that like we're never going to understand. I think that's one interpretation of it, at least, that like you just don't know what's out there. And like, especially towards the last sequence of it, where it's just like 20 minutes of just trippy shit that you're not even understanding. And you get in that one room in the end of the movie that kind of reminded me of Backrooms. I know we were talking about
Ah,
that.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
YouTube
I'm
phenomenon.
really into the back rooms right now, actually, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going
So
through a thing.
it had
Just
that
a
whole
little.
vibe
It's
where
just a phase, Mom.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Um, so I'm gonna relay that same question to you. Well, first, if you could approximate how many times you have seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, how many times, and then what do you think the movie is about?
Um, I don't know. I know I've seen it, like, over 30 times. I might have seen it, like, 50 times or something ridiculous. I've never seen it on a movie screen, though, so I'm quite jealous of the both of you guys. And that's just, like, the way it worked out, but, I actually have, the DVD, the Blu-ray, and the 4K right here. I'm looking at them right now, so I'm kinda, like, in the zone.
Beautiful.
Um, I've been watching this movie since I was a kid. I think my dad made me watch it because he thought it would be good for me, and, I thought it was a punishment. I didn't understand anything. I mean, it
I would
was not
hate this movie as a kid. This would have been like the worst as a kid.
as a kid, as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I'm 6 or something or 7, I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
He's gonna get this.
And he was like, "Do you understand? Do you get it?" And it's like the kind of stuff I do to my kids now. I'm like, "You gotta see this movie, it's great." And, so I understand now that son becomes a father and the father's son, but, Superman. But yeah, so I've seen it a lot. Because I've at least seen it. I'm 41. I've at least seen it more than once a year for, I don't know, like easily 30 years or something. I always watch
Oh,
the
wow.
movie. I love
Yeah,
it. Sometimes a couple of times. I mean, I think I've seen it a few times this year just because it's just in my staple of
yeah. Mm.
like things that I need to experience every couple of months or something. Um, so yeah, I've seen it a million times. I love it. And what do I think it's about? I think it's about um, the evolution of man from pre what we are today, right? So pre-man to where we could go in the future, right? And I don't know, maybe it's obvious because I've seen it so many times, or I don't know, but I see each kind of moment that we see the monolith appear. I know there's a few different interpretations of it, but it's a major moment in our either, history or future where a huge turning point happens and a major change occurs. And um, I see the Star Child at the end as Kubrick's like hope for humanity, that we could be more than we are today. And that's just like a representation of what that would be. And the film, I think, allows the viewer to go on that evolution. You start off as an ape, you become a higher minded being, you go through the Stargate sequence, and then you become the Star Child. But like, I've seen it so many times, it's crazy. Like,
It's part of your DNA at this point.
For
it's a lot.
so
Yeah.
for me, because I've asked you both been asked the question. I think I have a closer one to yours. Where it's about the evolution of man, and it's usually on the back of a technological discovery, right? So I feel like at the beginning, the dawn of man, it's the discovery of they find the monolith, and then it cuts conveniently to him walking around with the club and finding a tool for the very first time. And then it's interesting where it pivots, and the discovery of second monolith is a beacon. It's a
Mm.
path, and it's been laid down by aliens, right? Um, and when we venture into the third act and beyond into Jupiter, it's he's kidnapped and he's brought into this science world. And I know there's the whole theory about him actually being in jail there. Um, but and I've
Well,
always kind of
I've heard the human zoo. It's the human zoo.
the human
Yeah,
zoo,
yeah.
Yeah.
but I've always viewed that final sequence of him looking at his life. I don't think it's him viewing his life. I think it's just the passing of time of his life in this zoo, and we just kind of cut to it in like a trippy
It's
way.
sped up. It's not in real time, that
It's not
sequence
in real
whatsoever.
time, but his passing allows for the next evolution of human. Like if we look at it from, because like the dawn of man is we're apes, and then we cut ahead to the future to 2001, and it's the human beings we know here. And then that star child is now the next embrace of it, and it's looking over its domain that it's going to land on. And that is where the future is. And I think it's ambiguous because, like, knowing humans like I do, if an alien like that just shows up, you think the world's governments are going to treat it well, going to treat it nice. But the to me, that if there's a plot summation of that, that's it. But I think this movie's also about the journey. I think it's really about the uncovering the secret of this monolith, because that is
Mm.
the only, like, if we're talking about like a prototypical like movie, it's the only hooking device that this movie really has. Like, there's a lot of nuances in like the dawn of man and like what led to the monolith, them uncovering the monolith, what led to the discovery of the tool. Like, I like one scene that stood out to me really this time was them cowering at night under the ledge of the rocks and just the sound of the jaguar.
Isn't that great? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hunting. They're hiding. They have no choice. They are not the top of the food chain out here. And it leads to this discovery. And then when you coincide that with later in the film with Hal, the humans are not the top of the food chain anymore. They are not.
Mm.
We've created a device, so humans need to evolve beyond that. And it's kind of linking those two kind of themes together there. And it's so layered like that. But I'm
Mhm.
rambling.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
but
no, no, no.
for someone that like first watched this movie, like I went in other than the cultural osmosis, I didn't know that much. I knew like the sequence was, but like the fact that this movie, like the Kubrick, like it had the cachet and the balls to have the first like 20 minutes of this movie have zero dialogue and just have people in like ape suits that like we covered Planet of the Apes, a few years ago, and I was thinking about this in the back of my head when I was first watching it about how, how sci-fi was at the time and how it was where, like, you go from Planet of the Apes, which had the great sequences, but then this must have felt like such an upgrade. Even just that, even the costume design just felt like it's a little hokey, slightly, like the ape
Oh,
costumes.
I
I still love it.
I think they look
I love it.
fantastic.
I
I
love
think
it.
they look fantastic. I don't think they look hokey at all. I think they're guys in suits, obviously, but they look a million times better than whatever 2001: A Space Odyssey remake is floating around at Amazon right now. That with the CGI prototypes that are somewhere out there.
Yeah, some bullshit. Yeah, yeah. But no, it still just, like, shows, like, how, like, practical effects work and, like, how the movie is, like, for someone that, like, usually, like, doesn't always connect with Kubrick, like, when we covered Barry Lyndon, I hated that movie, like, I just couldn't stand it. I was also, like, not the right viewing sequence when, like, I was pretty much, like, procrastinating watching it and, like, I was like, "Shit, like, we're coming to this at 9 o'clock tonight, it's 3 o'clock. I had a stressful day at work, fuck, I have to go into this," and, like, then watching Barry Lyndon, which is just slow and just, like, that's the point of it,
S-
but
so then, let me ask you this, because I was thinking about this. Of all of Kubrick's work, I think for that I've seen a good amount of them, but I think 2001 is a really big offshoot, and I think the only one that, like, they all share similarities, but I think Barry
Mhm.
Lyndon, in terms of like composure and pacing, very similar to 2001. What made 2001 work for you in a way that Barry Lyndon did not?
I think, one part of it was just alone the music. Music can really make or break a movie for me sometimes. There's like a famous story, about a Halloween movie, John Carpenter's Halloween, where when they first screened that without the iconic score, the executives were like, "What's this? This is bullshit. This is nothing." And then they had that score in, and it was like, "This is terrifying. This is awful." In a good way. So it made me think of like, if this is 2001, when you have like these long, slow sequences of just spaceships like in the space just like going on the sound design when there is music, it's just really engaging and really locks you in and really gets you in there. The classical music score is just so iconic and so great. Like I've heard these pieces and other stuff before, like the opening sequence when like they have the whole drum, the thing we played at the beginning of the pod. Like I think that was in Toy Story, if I remember correctly, when they first show Buzz. I was just like, wait, like this is the new guy on the
Well,
block.
again, it's
So
another homage to 2001, is just
exactly,
even
yeah,
in
yeah.
something like Toy Story.
Yeah, so, like, there's that, and, like, that music is just immediately, like, just you feel in your bones, and when I was watching this in theaters, I immediately was like, "Hell yeah, we got ourselves a fucking movie." Because and when it's going on the loud theater speakers, and it's louder than you could ever get in your own house or apartment, it's just like, "This is fucking incredible, this is amazing." Like, I'm really just locked in right here, so I think that's part of it, just allow that, and just like you said before, the sound design, when you hear the silence, it kicks in and it gets you even more like locked in and more just like, holy shit, what's going on? Like some real shit's going on. So I think that this movie and overall just has like a real hypnotic effect in a way that Barry Lyndon did not. Barry Lyndon just had me disengaged and being like, fuck, like I don't know what I'm gonna say about this movie because like I just don't like it. This movie that everyone's saying is incredible.
Oh, so can I ask you a question about, so another question about why you liked 2001, right? And,
Yeah.
it could be versus Barry Lyndon. Barry Lyndon tells a like a singular story about this guy who takes on the name Barry Lyndon, right? But 2001, I think the first time you watch it probably seemingly seems like 3 or 4 completely different sequences, maybe until, like, they reveal themselves to you, right? So the first time you watched it, was it engaging to you that things kept changing? Right? Because
I
even,
think I think so.
between, like, the moon sequence and the Jupiter mission, the first time I watched it, I thought, like, "Okay, it's more space stuff, but how are they connected?" I didn't understand it at first.
I think this is also the power of seeing something in theater for the first time versus seeing it at home. Where like I said, Barry Lyndon, I was just not. It was at home. It was a sunny day. I was looking out the window, and it was just like fuck. Like I could be like going outside, like going on a walk or something. Whereas 2001: A Space Odyssey, I'm in a theater, lights are down. I'm seeing nothing but this screen. There's no distractions. My phone's off. I'm immediately going in. Not that I was looking at my phone during Barry Lyndon, but the temptation was really there during Barry Lyndon. So I think that that's part of it too. Just like seeing it in theaters, just like really gets you locked in a way that you can never get at home. And it really like when we go to the different sequences, I still was like, okay, this still looks cool. This still looks breathtaking. This is like some of the most spellbinding shit I've seen on cinema ever. Especially when you're watching 35 millimeters. Like, okay, this looks incredible. Like my mind's blown.
I'm so jealous. I'm very jealous. I'm very jealous. But I will say that 4K is like, oh, it's so good. It is really,
Yeah.
really good.
So this is a movie that I'm not sure if I'm ever going to get the 4K because I watched it at home. I still love this movie. I'm still going to give it like a great score at the end of the pod. But I was thinking like I don't know if I ever want to watch this at home again. Personally, I will watch it again, but I feel like I'm just want to wait until more times I see it in theaters. Like I've seen The Thing, for example, like 6 times in theaters, even though I had the Blu-ray. It's a movie I'll constantly go out to seek out, even though I watch it at home too. But like with 2001, I did feel slightly disconnected in a way I didn't at home.
I,
In
I'll
theaters rather.
I'll echo that,
Okay.
but I would say if you're gonna do 2001 at home, make sure you have a sound bar or something to enhance the sound of
Oh
this
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Um, Make sure it's dark out. You're in a
yeah.
basement.
Because
Light cannot.
if we weren't recording for the pod later tonight, I would have this would be like a 9 o'clock at night watch kind of thing. Whereas I watched at 3 p.m. on a sunny day out today.
Lock,
Just-
pour yourself your favorite cocktail, your favorite vice, your favorite soft drink, use your favorite cup for water, whatever it may be, and just like sit back and appreciate what is being presented to you versus what your expectations of this might be. Um, so I think we should maybe cover some of the sequences here. Because there's 4 main parts. We have the dawn of man, we have the space station, then we have the voyage out to Jupiter, and then Jupiter and beyond. I kind of want to talk about that second one because I think it's weirdly fascinating and an interesting time capsule of late 1960s America, like especially like the brands like
It's the furthest this movie gets towards satire. And like you said with the brands, I didn't notice that on my first watch, but when you go into the space station and you see what's around them, and it's like the Hilton Space Station and like other
Yeah.
brands right there where you see it, it's like, oh, of course, like the second we go into space, it'd be corporatized. Like I wouldn't be shocked if like we ever commercialized space travel, it'd be like Amazon spaceship or like JetBlue in space or some bullshit. And
Yeah, yeah, it's perfect. And Kubrick, he saw it like he knew before we even went to the moon. He was like, if we take steps A and B, like this is what we would do. We would kind of ruin it all. We would sterilize it. Um, like it's interesting and it's beautiful to look at, but it's also just plain and clean and boring. And even like the phone call that he makes to his daughter, like it's kind of like a little payphone thing, and it's all just kind
yeah,
of it's like blah, but it's interesting because it's blah.
to go on a quick tangent, I do love how in any movies that came out before the invention of FaceTime, how they all posit like we're never going to use phone calls again. We're going to be strictly FaceTime. Like Back to the Future 2 has that also, where like they focus so much on the FaceTime aspect. And when I'm watching this, I'm like, I don't know. For me personally, if someone FaceTimes me out of the blue, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, don't FaceTime me
The-
unexpectedly.
Oh, hey, have you ever shared an elevator with a UPS or FedEx driver? Those people are always on a FaceTime. I don't know what
Yeah.
else to tell you, okay?
He's not
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
He's not wrong.
They're
He's not
on a
wrong.
6-hour FaceTime with somebody, which sounds
Yeah.
like my nightmare. I'm going to be so
Exactly.
real with you. Like, when
Same.
my girlfriend and I are apart, but we're going to watch the same thing, like, we call to sync up the time, and then we hang up and we're texting. We're not watching the same thing we're not on the phone the whole time.
Well, so
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
an interesting note to that actually. So my kids are 7, 4, and 3. They love to FaceTime. They don't think about making a phone call.
Okay.
So if
yeah.
they want to call my mom, they're like, "Oh, I want to call grandma. I want to call grandma." It's FaceTime. They want to FaceTime grandma. They never think about making a phone call. So you guys are just old. We're old.
Maybe that's
and
what
in
it
the
is.
future,
We're
they
unks.
FaceTime.
We're unks,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because like,
but
you know, my sister will like FaceTime me when I'm like walking in the mall or something like that or doing something and still like have my niece on the FaceTime. I'm like, I want to say hi to my niece, but I'm like not trying to look at my phone while I'm walking around right now. Like,
well,
I'm sorry.
I also feel like for kids, it's a little more engaging to have the face-to-face person that they're talking to keep their attention versus like I remember being like 3 or 4 and my grandma was calling and just like hello, and I'm like hi, and then I want to just get off this phone call as quickly as possible because like I'm 3 and I want to run around. I don't want to actually be
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there. So like and having that technology disposable from your pocket is also incredible. I think with that
But
sequence too, like the visual of it, like there's
Mhm.
no computer composting, putting different shots together and layering them. Like this is all hand painted, hand drawn, and it looks so good. Like even this shot of like a FaceTime 58 years ago looks incredible and believable. And there's movies where it looks worse that have come out far more recently. I'm looking at you, War of the Worlds 2025. That it's remarkable. There, but
Mm.
I also think that sequence where he sits down with the Russian uh doctor there, and they're
Oh, the
talking
guy, they're at like the red chairs and they
the
want
red
to ask
chairs,
him
which is
like what he knows about
from
Clavius.
a
Yeah.
cinematography, from a set design standpoint, that is just so interesting. Where it almost looks like you're in a Rorschach, like painting kind of thing, like ink
Oh, sure.
blob.
The way I know what you mean. Actually, the way the chairs are kind of like coming down and shaped
Yeah.
weirdly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
gets
Yeah.
you in a weird, like sterile, like you're saying, like it's all pure white. There's like no like design to it. So, like so much of like set design in the future in this movie is just cold and unwelcoming.
I think there's something so awesome about 60 mid-century futurism. Like I think
Mm.
those early James Bond like nail that with like the secret layers and all those bases and stuff, like creating these like cool atmospheres and cool designs. And I think this movie is another one of that. Like I love just the sequence. He's on the Pan American jet. He's going up. And we're watching, that one kind of just looks like a regular plane. Like, okay, we're used to this. We're accustomed to this. And then it's like this giant cylinder thing where they're all buckled into to go up into the thing. And it's got these like half seats for like a conversation lounge, like circling there.
Mhm.
Like, it's just like the design of it is so cool. And it's so far gone from anything we have today.
Well, it's interesting from like a futuristic standpoint. It is funny again, like watching movies that like take place in our current time. Now, 2001 for us was 25 years ago. So obviously, like we're not like doing like international space travel again constantly and stuff like that. But they did nail some things. It's always interesting to see the things that did nail. Like for example, how when we're first introduced to Keir Dula and Frank, like how they're watching the BBC News on their tablets while they're eating, and it's just like how do they even think that they're going to be like mini tablets right there? That's mind blowing to me.
Yeah, I love that actually. I was thinking about that when I was watching it the other day too, just how perfect it is. And on a storytelling level, I love that we get the information by watching them watching themselves. It's a very human thing to do, right? To like watch yourself on TV. They already did the interview
Yeah.
and now they're watching themselves while they eat. Like I'm going to want to watch this podcast when we're done recording it. I'm going to, that was fun. I'm going to want to do exactly what they did. It's such a human normal thing to do,
It's
and
a
he
great
knew.
exposition dump too, because it just like gets it
Yeah.
out there in an engaging way. And it makes sense character wise. Where like you said, like these guys probably have nothing going on. I imagine it's very boring. I mean, you can only play chess with Hal so many times before it gets rudimentary.
We're watching. I
And
mean, you see it with Dave too, where Hal goes, "Are you working, Dave?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting better." It's like, "Yeah, your sketches have really improved because like there's not a ton to do in the space journey, which is hence the hibernation, and you need two
Mhm.
guys to just oversee everything, make sure everything's working still that are there. That's a
Mm.
pretty boring job to have.
didn't have Netflix on that spaceship, unfortunately.
Yeah, Tommy, you would have been okay if you had Netflix on there, I guess, or your DVD. I think you would have to bring a DVD collection. I don't think you could
Collection,
do it.
yeah.
I
Like
don't think
how
That
you
much
would
could.
be
can I shrug?
the
Like a
modern
pallet truck.
version of 2001 is just they're like on their phones and like, things beeping again. Like,
Like, ah, shit, what the fuck is
what a
going on?
horrible future. Yeah.
Yo, Unc, can you go check out what's going on over there? Yeah, thanks,
But
man.
it is funny that you don't see in the modern space movies like them having like a switch or something like that and just being like completely locked down and everything
It's like
except for the
totally
space.
bored there. What's that, Hal? I'm talking to Siri, Hal.
Yo, Hal, I
Like-
thought you were able to do this, bro. Can you fucking do
Hal-
it? Thank you.
Can you just write this essay for me instead? This research paper? Like, fuck it.
But make it look like it's not written by AI. Thank you.
Yeah.
There, but
Well, Hal, let's go there. Hal is, I think, a top 3 AI in movies character of all time.
he's one.
It's them.
He's one.
He's well, I'd say Terminator is probably one, arguably.
Ooh, is he AI?
He's more
Is the
like
Terminator
robotic AI. I
AI?
wouldn't call.
I think
Hal-
Skynet's AI.
Yeah.
What's a Terminator? That's a good question. This is a totally different.
Yeah, as we get off track, but
Tommy,
no, I think that in terms
Tommy
of
turning the
iconic-
podcast exactly how he wants it to. How can we talk about the Terminator?
I love the
How can I
Terminator.
bring in? How
Oh,
can
I
I
do
bring in
too.
Schwarzenegger into this? But no, like basically, like I think in terms of like artificial intelligence or like robots and things, this is an iconic thing where you see that red eye, and it's just amazing in this movie how when you're first really introduced to Hal, it's during that BBC sequence, and you just constantly see before they interview him, just this one like lingering shot, static shot of just the red eye, and it looks chilling. It gets underneath your skin, and you're like, holy shit. And I thought this was great how they kept it up, and even the blocking of how they include Hal in scenes. I think one of the best examples was right before the intermission, which
Mhm.
thank God this movie had an intermission in theaters. Like, needs to come back, bring it back.
I see.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think this is a very interesting use of the intermission. Like I saw
It's
Lawrence
right
of-
when it's right when the fucking like plot starts kicking in, and it's
Yeah.
like intermission.
But I for this movie's like runtime is like 220 without like 230 without the intermission. Like it's very short. It's a very short movie for an intermission. You know, like
It could have gone without. I mean, it could have been, but it was like good for me. Like where I was like, okay, now I can lock in. But to bring it back though, that scene right before the intermission, where they talk to Hal on the spaceship, or they're talking in the pod, and they try and tell Hal, hey, can you turn around the pod? And he won't do it, and like whatever, he can't read us. And the whole entire time, I remember when I saw this in theaters 2 weeks ago, people started gasping even before they focused on the zoom lips because they realized, holy shit, the way it's framed, you see Hal constantly in the shot while they're talking to each other back and forth. And you realize immediately what's happening. You're like, oh, they fucked up massively right there. Like, you'd think that they would think, like, let's turn our backs to Hal too. Like, let's turn
we
around.
need a
Let's
movie.
make sure.
We need a movie, Tommy.
Yeah, exactly. But still. So it's just like, oh, you go.
No, I was just going to say, it's interesting because we are familiar with AI. Watching it now, even me seeing it like a million times, watching it now, I'm familiar with AI. So it's so obvious, like what you're saying. Like, shouldn't they go a little further and go all the way so he can't see them? But the audiences weren't familiar with it. Kubrick is sort of inventing it with Arthur C. Clarke. Like they're writing the book and the movie together. That's actually
Yeah.
the history of it. They're writing it
Mhm.
together at the same time, and it's a perfect visual, representation of exactly what's going on. And so it's perfect. And the first time you watch it, I don't know if you notice that Hal is reading their lips, and I guess that's why Kubrick puts those close shots in just to like put it home. But maybe we would know. Like we would know in 2026. It's so interesting. This movie is crazy. And also like I was just gonna say he looks like a phone. Like he looks like a
think about this though, like computers itself were like a foreign concept to humans at this time. Like there was a very few select group of scientists that were working on developing computers, but the mass public had no information about them. It was derived exclusively from like science fiction was any public knowledge of
They were all
computers.
tape. They were tape back then, yeah.
Yeah.
How the basically like public perception was at the time. Critics at first for a movie that's like known as a classic and like one of the totem sci-fi movies, this movie was very polarized upon release. Keir Dullea said that during the New York premiere, 250 people walked out, and then in L.A., Rock Hudson left early and was heard muttering, "What is this bullshit?" when someone telling you what the hell this is about. So like I could see like if you're not used to this type of thing, you could be like, what the fuck is this shit, Kubrick? Like, what is this trippy bullshit you're getting me on? So
Well,
Yeah.
it's weird how immediately that just took over. We're like, I didn't feel that at all. I didn't feel like, even though I was confused, I was very appreciative on the journey. I was like, this is just
well,
constantly getting me engaged.
so the interesting thing about the world premiere, so it was shown April 2nd, 1968 at the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C. with a 160-minute cut of the movie. It opened the next day at Lowe's in New York and the Warner Hollywood Theater in Los Angeles, and it was also shown in Boston. That was the original version, and then Kubrick went in and cut out 12 minutes of it before wide distribution of it. So clearly something in like that version will never see the light of day. I think that film was destroyed. Like there's no putting some, oh, look at the unreleased version of 2001. Like, nope.
There's no standard cut for this one.
No, gone forever. So from what I
I,
read, there was like more monologuing and more kind of like describing what was going on, which I can't, I don't understand how that got into, like, there was like a narrator kind of throughout, which I guess makes sense to try to like
yeah.
explain to you what's going on. But
Well, I'm
like,
guessing none of us read the book. Oh, you
oh,
have? Okay. So, Sean, can you speak to it? Because I heard the book explains things a lot more.
Yeah, the book whenever I talk about 2001, I don't even include the book because the book is actually very different than the
mm,
movie in terms of how ambiguous the movie is. The book tells you everything plainly. And before I tell you what the book says, I had read that Kubrick, like I said, Kubrick was writing it with Arthur C. Clarke at the same time. He sort of hired Arthur C. Clarke because Clarke was so famous at the time, and Kubrick wanted to use his notoriety for science fiction. And
mm,
so Kubrick was telling him the story he wanted to tell, but he wasn't giving him all the details. So Clarke ended up writing a slightly different version than Kubrick made because Kubrick was playing things so close to the chest that he didn't even want to tell the guy he was writing the story with how he wanted it
mm,
presented. So in the book, it's very clear that the monolith is alien technology
mm,
and that its purpose is to just wait for someone to find it so it can sort of activate the next stage of evolution. And Dave, you know, goes through a wormhole and goes to a human zoo with a bunch of aliens at the end, and then they turn him into a special being. And that says it all in the book. If you read the book, it just tells you everything plain. Um, at the same time, I don't think that that is exactly what the movie is because Kubrick decided not to give us those things. Even if some of that might have been in the 12 minutes, like maybe some of the 12 minutes was more expository.
mm.
I think the final version of the movie that we see is the one that he wanted us to see. And
Well, do you think the knowing like all the things are explained and reading the book, do you think that like adds appreciation to the movie, or do you think you would have been fine without it?
um that's so hard to say because I think
Mm,
I have seen the movie as like completely metaphoric, and then I saw it as strictly science fiction, like knowing everything about the
Mm.
backstory. And now I see it as like a metaphoric science fiction. I think it kind of works both ways. I think if you follow the plot A to B to C to D, it works. It's a cool science fiction movie that's sort of ambiguous and it's
I,
great. It's the
I
best
I think
movie of
it's
all time. But I think it
yeah.
also means more than what the plot is, you know?
Oh, I think it's interesting, like the two different versions of like the mediums where Kubrick himself said in like an interview a couple years after this movie came out, where he's like, there are a number of differences between the book and the movie. The novel attempts to explain things more explicitly, and that's more noble in a verbal medium. He's like, the novel came out after he did a 130-page treatment of the film at the very outset. Arthur took all the material plus an impression of some of the rushes and wrote the novel. And he's like, there's a big difference between them. He thinks it's interesting. And there's like versions of this movie where like there's going to be more narration and everything on the onset that have just been explained. But I think that just like letting you visually interpret, like again, this movie has like at least like 60 minutes, maybe, or like 40 minutes of no dialogue, and it's not needed. You're able to follow it. It's like you said, if you watch this movie at home and like you're like trying to scroll through Twitter, you're not gonna have a good time. You're gonna be like, what happened? I don't know. I just lost complete train of
Well,
thought.
it's that hypnotic rhythm that Kubrick's able to like sedate you in almost. It like the movie itself is a trip without the drugs. I can't even imagine what it would be like to sit there taking acid in the 1960s in a movie theater, being like, "Yo, okay, right when it cuts to intermission, we're gonna go in the bathroom, we're gonna drop these tabs, and then we're gonna go back, and by the time it starts kicking in, it's gonna be the
Yeah.
peak, man." Like
Literally,
I
literally, there was a specific like thing that like the people in the psychedelic community they would tell you. So you should take your tab of acid at like this specific part in the movie, and then it will start peaking right during the light show, man. Shit
Th
like that.
that's the dark side of the moon syncs up with the Wizard of Oz, before that was cool, um, that
Yeah, yeah.
connection there, but I think for, like, discussing this movie, like, what kinda impact do you think this had on filmmaking as a whole? Because I think there's homages, there's everything, but, like, I have one specific instance in mind, and to me, I can't believe I didn't make this connection when I saw this in movie theaters, but this time it was, like, glaringly in my face, um, which was Star Wars owes so much like, we talk about the Hidden Fortress, they talk about Dune, they talk about all these other instances. The design of Star Wars is taken blatantly from 2001, I felt like
The
that
ships?
the ships, but, like, the
Yeah.
lunar landing sequence, like, when the gates open on the moon at Clavis and the
Mhm.
things that's the escape pod, and those bridges are the, star destroyers, it changed my mind, like, there's so much of that that was, like sort of looks like, "Let's do the 2001 set again, but just make it gray, and it'll be the Death Star. It'll be
Mhm.
gray, and it'll look like the Death
No,
Star."
I agree with you, and I actually think George Lucas probably said to himself, "How can I take what Kubrick did and make it like a fun family action film?" And he did all the he took all the work that Kubrick did to make it real, and he said, "Let's make it fun, I guess."
Let's make it a
Um,
fantasy.
but
It's
but it's a ripoff. It looks exactly the same.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
100% right.
This
Like
movie in general, like in terms of the set design and sort of like the special effects, just like pretty much defined sci-fi for like 50, 60 years, where you constantly see people doing iterations on the set. When you do space movies, a lot of the times, like you're thinking like, especially if you're trying to go a little more realistic, you're trying to do a more sterile set like this and everything like that, where it looks like a laboratory or things like that. You can see it constantly how it works, especially like stuff like Interstellar, which is essentially like completely 2001, like Nolan doing his riff on that.
oh, yeah, I mean, now when you think about, McConaughey's character getting sucked into the void, like, it's, like, giving that more plot and more meaning to it, like, in terms of like, there's far more like, there's no character in this movie, I would say is, like for me, like, I love character, I think that's one of my favorite things about screenwriting and filmmaking in general, but I do like, I don't need it from every movie, and, like, if you can get away with it, you can get away with it. 2001 gets away with it, but, like, they are vanilla. I mean, I even thought it was very humorous with, Dr. Lee Haywood when he's there, and then they're going on the shuttle to Clavis, like, they're going from one part to where the monolith is, and they're just talking, like, mundanely about the cheese sandwiches and the
I
turkey.
love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that
they're all the
sequence.
same but it's like, this is routine for these guys. It's a big business, it's a part of big government, it has been completely taken over and operationalized, and like, to me, it was so fascinating, and again, it's that the rhythm of mundanity.
Well,
when
and that's their conversation while they're talking about like ham sandwiches. You said Lee. It's his name is Lloyd.
Lloyd, I know his
Floyd Haywood. I'm sorry,
Floyd.
Floyd Haywood.
Mm,
So Floyd says to them, like I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, "Guys, I just want to say, like, thanks for like going with the conspiracy. Like, it's really cool of you. Like, I know it's like a fake virus on the moon,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like you guys are being super cool." And they're just like, "Listen, boss, we just want to do what you're doing, man. We just want to be on your team. Do you see these pictures? Like, it is such a cool, like nonsensical. It's just like a normalcy. They're eating sandwiches, and they're like, "You see that we found this giant thing on the moon. It's so crazy."
and then
And it's so regular. I
I
don't know how Kubrick is able to catch that normalcy.
there's just
Yeah.
there's such a rhythm to just people will call it boring, but they're misunderstanding it because then later when when he's disassembling Hal, when Dave's disassembling Hal in there, and they've
I
reached
want to talk about this
Jupiter's,
sequence.
oh, which the colors are unbelievable.
I
The
love it.
use of red there is just
Yeah.
like
It feels like you're watching Clint Eastwood at the end of Million Dollar Baby, just like taking the pill to Hal
Uh,
and just like suffocating Hal because it's heartbreaking in a way.
yeah.
We're like,
but, like that mainframe, just utterly incredible. But then
great set design.
it
Yeah.
cuts right back to him being like, now that you've reached Jupiter's orbit, we can tell you what your mission is. So these guys were sent out there with this was against their will. So like when you can say like Hal's one of the great movie villains of all time, blah 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 blah. But like this was all set up by the people that sent them there, like the people that took these astronauts against their will into this situation, and then right after that sequence, it just cuts to Jupiter and beyond, and you're immediately brought into this just hypnotizing psychedelic sequence. Like when you think of psychedelics, when I think of another homage to Star Wars, like something with the warp speed, like the way those lights work, and then there's just the spear
Mm.
there, like that, like it all stems from this. And I mean,
Mhm.
just the use of the rainbow, just the use of colors there. It's
Well, and it's all photochemical. Like they did that all for
It's
real.
insane. Yeah.
it's insane how they captured it. And it's so interesting that it coincides with 1968 and that psychedelic, even though, like, I don't think the movie itself is, like, inherently, like, trying to be like, let's make a psychedelic movie for these hippie kids out there. Like, I
And
think
Kubrick
it's,
wasn't a big like drug user because it thought like it just
No,
like,
no. I
got rid
think
of the
they just
creative
leaned into it.
process.
I agree. I think they leaned
Yeah.
into it, but I don't think it was about the drug use. I think it was about a experience. I think he was giving you an experience.
yeah, because,
And
like,
it's no shock this movie won the Academy Award for best special effects. I mean, its only competition was a movie called The Ice Station Zebra, which I never heard of before tonight. So there's that,
I
and
never heard
apparently
of
it was
it. That's the first time I heard of it.
I mean, when I think of special effects from 1960s movies, it's usually like a really poor green screen and like somebody in a car and like, it's cute for the time, but it's not exactly like
for
groundbreaking
example,
special
Mary
effects.
Poppins and Thunderball were some 60s movies that won best special effects. So
Mm, For the
put in
time,
there.
Right.
sure, but
Yeah. But
comparatively to 2001, it's night and day.
because 2001 still holds up. It doesn't look hokey at all. Where like if I watch like Forbidden Planet or like 1950s sci-fi movies, like a lot of them will just look like, oh, it's like clearly like a thing on a string or some bullshit.
John, you seem like you have a very strong affinity for science fiction. Have you delved into the history of science fiction in film and like experienced any pre 2001 A Space Odyssey?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I watched Metropolis. I saw when I was actually in film school, I watched Metropolis a bunch of times, and I have it on DVD.
Mhm.
That's like a really
Yeah,
the one that's like sticking out to me. There's the
it's the
day the
only.
Earth stood still, but that's not like a big. That's not me. That's kind of an alien movie,
Mhm.
even though it's science fiction. But Fritz Lang and Metropolis is probably like
That's the only
it's the
one I can
best.
really think of.
Because
Yeah.
like other than that, I mean, like there's like hokey stuff like World of Worlds and that adaptation from the 50s where it's more B movie shit. And like you said, like this was mostly a hokey genre up until like around here. So to bring it back to character stuff, I think there's some stuff where like Kubrick brings just enough little bit of characterness to make it like pop. Where when we're first introduced to Frank Poole and David Bowman right after the BBC sequence, when you realize like, yeah, this is a human moment right there. Then you have the moment where Frank talks to his parents, and or rather, he gets a voice recording from his parents, like a FaceTime voicemail,
Yeah.
and I think that that is just such a great moment of just showing how cold and alone this must feel for all of them. Just like hearing that, we're like, there, he can't even talk back to his parents. He just has to hear this thing. Be like, oh, this is going well. And we told the neighbors that you're doing well too. And we just talked
Mike
to the
says hello.
BBC.
He wishes you well on your journey. It's like the epitome of like a forced message from your parents.
Yeah, they don't know what to talk about. And like, they're just like happy for him. But at the same time, they're like,
We're going to
yeah,
be on the
it's,
news. Hopefully, you can see us on the news too.
yeah. I know the
Yeah, yeah.
BBC is able to be transmitted like 800 miles away in space.
That's further
Well,
than
I think
800
it's interesting
miles.
that Frank gets the character moment also, because I think the first time you
Mm.
watch the movie, everyone now knows because of the zeitgeist that Dave is the one that makes it to the end. But the first time you watch the movie, I don't know how apparent that is, especially if you don't know anything about Dave and the famous sequences. So Frank gets this kind of human moment, and he's the one that we lose at first in space, and that's how we know how serious things are in that sequence. In a movie that really hasn't had much action since a bunch of monkeys killed another monkey. That's it. It's just those two moments.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Uh,
like, as someone that watched this movie for the first time 2 weeks ago, I knew that Keir Dullea was the guy that said like, "Oh, open the pod bay doors, Hal." I didn't expect like what happened with Frank because it's really shocking. And even when the scene in theaters, like the audience gasped when we noticed what was happening, that he was just floating like aimlessly, driftlessly in space, and it's just like really, really is striking. I do like in terms of costume design too, how they give each different guy like a different colored spaceship or spacesuit, which really just like makes it distinct in terms of characters. It almost reminded me of Among Us, that game, and you
Oh
can
yeah,
see this.
sure.
Yeah, you can see the
And he's
sci-fi
like
design
bright
there.
yellow, so
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but it's just like the way you see him struggle, and like you immediately like is realizing like, oh, I don't have any air, and then his body just goes lifeless. Like he is already dead before Keir Dullea gets to him. Like it's over for him at that point. I feel like.
and it's just amazing the fact that he even goes after him. You know, I'm assuming he knows, he understands what happens, but it's
mhm.
a
Mhm.
specifically, I think, human thing to do. And I think that's why like he goes out and he gets his friend because
He wants to
he's
stick it to
human. And
Hal, and he wants to stick it to
yeah.
Hal. Like he wants to
Well,
prove that like humans are better than them,
and
than
I do think
machines.
there's actually like something that's going on between humans and AI. And like ultimately who reaches Jupiter and beyond. And again, this is only like a thought I've had because I've seen it so many times now, where like the last time I watched it, I realized, you know, Hal could have been the one that reached Jupiter. That's actually what he was attempting to do. He was going to make sure that the mission went through, and that's why he killed all the humans and attempted to kill Dave so that he could see the mission through. And I wonder what would have happened if Hal had arrived to Jupiter and met up with the monolith. You know, would the aliens or the greater beings have been like, oh, all right, well, I guess Hal, artificial intelligence, has succeeded and not humanity. Like, well, I wonder what would have happened. I know that's like a weird thought, but I just
I
had it
think
the
it's
other
a
night.
but I think that's what's great about this movie is that it's like it's a weird thought, but it's a great thought. Like
Mhm.
and like if it's in the book, don't tell me because I almost like I feel like I appreciate that there's a novelization of this out that's so different, but I also don't want to like interfere my brain with what I love about this movie so much. Um, I like is it like a scanning system? Like, are they looking for sentient life, or are these aliens able to detect the difference between robotics and not? You know, like it's one of those interesting things to me where like that question pops in, but like I'm picturing just like a scanning system over the thing as it reaches the monolith in Jupiter.
Well, I believe so you said not I'm not gonna tell you anything, but I believe that the point of burying the monolith deep within the moon's crust was so that some life form would have to be intelligent enough to know that there was something buried, be able to utilize their technology to see that there's something different with the magnetic field around this area, dig for it, and find it. They would have to leave the planet, get to the moon, realize something was weird on the moon, and find the thing. So that takes a level of intelligence that I'm not sure mattered to like whomever put that there. It's just a, hey, if you find this,
You can come.
you could take one step further.
Well, it makes you like feel just like very ominous the fact that like we don't pick up with Haywood Floyd right after they see the monolith. Like that arc of the story is completely done. Like, I don't even think they touch upon like, oh, like did the guys die or anything
Well,
mysterious.
we know they didn't die because he's on the
Well,
broadcast.
Haywood sends the message at the end.
Oh yeah,
after-
yeah.
But see, like this is the thing. Like you don't even notice it maybe the first time.
You're
or
not
the
going
second
to. You
time.
don't really recognize that it's him. Like I only, maybe I noticed it when I saw it in theater, but it had been years, so I haven't. It wasn't top of mind. Like I was astounded by how much of the movie I remembered going back into it. Like how much of it actually stuck within the recesses.
Because this is your
of my mind.
first watch since the
Yeah, like
theater?
I for me, I really want to save it. Like I have a great local theater by me, but they haven't shown it in years, and like I'm waiting for. Like I will go, try to drop everything and go to a screening of 2001 if I can.
I have to imagine they're going to mass release this in 2 years when the 60th
Yes,
anniversary comes
100
up.
I have to
100%.
go. I
Oh,
have
you
to go.
you
Yeah,
have
I
to
have
you
to
have
go.
to go.
Yeah,
I have to go.
You're the only one of us that hasn't seen it in theaters.
I just had a thought, and I'm gonna shoot this up there, and if it's a really bad take, just you slap it on down. Is this the Norm Macdonald of movies? Your comic's favorite comic? You know what I mean? Like for people like us who
Okay, yeah,
watch
yeah.
films, obsessed with films, like we're like, this is one of the greatest works of art that we've ever had. But if you try to show this to somebody that's maybe watching 20 movies a year, they're like, they're not getting through the dawn of
Is it
men.
based
Like
on personal experience trying to show this to someone recently?
no. That has nothing to do with it. I should have known taste was a subject matter here. That is a human error on my part. But I just like like if you hear filmmakers talk about this film, like the gravitas they hold this in, and they don't hold that many films in that kind of like light. It's really that influential to them. And so it's just like someone like Norm Macdonald, or even like a Larry David before he was writing on TV.
No, Norm
where it's like,
Macdonald. Norm Macdonald is the perfect example.
Yeah,
I love stand-up
yeah,
comedy.
yeah,
Norm is like fancy mushrooms. Like
Yeah.
Norm is special. Norm is special, and you can't show Norm to just anybody either. They won't understand.
You try to
it.
show somebody the moth who's on Conan, who's not familiar with Norm Macdonald. They're like, why are you showing me this bad joke? Like, why are you?
Well, it's like one interesting thing to ever do on Letterboxd if you want to get yourself triggered is look up movies you love and just sort reviews by like half star. So I just did that for this, for example, where like I see half star reviews on Letterboxd and people are leaving. Where it's like someone wrote a review that was like, I understand what a breakthrough film this was. The effects are incredible, but I can't get over how this film has the worst pacing of any film I've seen, which is such a letdown. So like you said, like yeah, like I feel like you ask an average person that like doesn't really go to the movies that much, or is very excited about Michael, and then they say like, hey, watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. They're probably gonna be like, what's? They're gonna
Yeah.
have the Rock Hudson reaction. What is this bullshit?
Yeah, and I think it's something like like you said, you saw this when you were 7, and like you were like, what is this? And you just hadn't developed enough or hadn't seen enough to like kind of I feel like there's unless you're taking acid, there needs to be some appreciation of the art of filmmaking itself that needs to kind of go into here to let your brain stem from the fact that like you're like, man, we've been in this desert for like 15 minutes, man. We're just watching monkeys. This is a documentary. I thought it was a space movie. Like there is a mental hurdle that you do have to get through if you're like, hey, I only dedicate so much time to watching movies each year. Like this might not be the one I would recommend to you because you're probably just not going to get engrossed in it. But that's
Well,
my
I
take.
think also,
That's my take.
With modern filming goers and stuff like that, a lot of people like when at home, there's the meme of like people like, oh, you're watching the show while you're playing your Nintendo Switch the whole time. Like I said earlier, you're trying to do that with this movie. you're not going to process anything. You'd be like, oh, it's still going on. They're still doing this. It's still just 10 minutes of a space sequence. Like, what's going on here? So, have any of you guys seen the sequel, 2010, the year we made contact?
So I have not seen the sequel, and I pretend that those don't even exist at all. I have you seen it?
I'm curious to see it. I don't. I think it's going to be like the fun B movie version because it's directed by Peter Hyams, who's most known for directing Jean Claude Van Damme movies like Time Cop and Sudden Death. And the cast is Roy Scheider, John Lithgow, Helen Mirren, and then Keir Dullea pops back up, and then the guy who voiced Hal, Douglas Rain, pops back up too.
I
So,
didn't know that. I mean, that sounds kind of fun. That
yeah,
sounds kind of
yeah.
cool. I
I
will
had
say
decent.
I was against any Kubrick sequel until I saw Doctor Sleep, and I do like Doctor Sleep, so maybe I would
Yeah.
watch 2010.
So this is what it says on Rotten Tomatoes, 68%. 2010 struggles to escape from the shadow of its predecessor, but offers brainy adventure and a more straightforward voyage to the cosmos. So I feel like that's more probably like the average film goer one would appreciate that a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe it's not my style. I like the ambiguity. I want to see something weird.
Yeah,
Show me something I haven't seen before, you know?
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think that's probably why, like Tim, you were saying, I think that's probably why that 2001 is the Norm Macdonald of movies, because the reason why all these filmmakers like 2001 so much is because it shows you, I think, the possibilities of what movies can be because it's so different. It's so its own thing.
It's an experimental
Uh,
film.
yeah, and severely successful, and not monetarily. Like it's successful in its aim of giving you something, and I think it's a little different maybe for everybody, but the fact that you can keep watching it, I can keep watching it, and it's probably like, like you guys said, that's a modern person's boring film, but it's just like endlessly rewatchable
Well, I'll,
because
I'll say that like even watching at home, it played way better at home than I expected. I thought I was going to be bored this time. I was just like constantly, okay, they're at this sequence right now. Hell yeah, let's go. Um, to touch upon sequels real quick. Arthur C. Clarke also wrote 3 sequels to this: 2010, which was made into a movie; 2061, Odyssey 3, and then he wrote 3001, The Final Odyssey. So the books are out there for the taking, Hollywood. If you want to make a quick buck.
Arthur Clarke also had like a interesting life where he was gay in a time when it was illegal in London to be gay, and then he moved to Sri Lanka with his boyfriend, who was like using his money from his books to make underwater films, like just nature documentaries. So interesting guy, Arthur C. Clarke.
you had
Interesting.
that fact at the ready. You
I
had
had
that
that.
fact at the
I've been
ready.
holding on to that fact for a while.
Oh
We
my
had
Real,
God.
real quick, we do have to touch upon the conspiracy that this movie, some of the footage was shot to fake the moon landing.
Buzz
It's like the
Aldrin.
real,
Buzz Aldrin punched a guy in the face. I deny the moon landing,
yeah.
even though
I find it so funny that that's like
Kubrick
a
did
whole
have
thing.
NASA lenses at the ready for Barry Lyndon, because of his relationship with NASA. Just saying, but we're not a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory podcast. We are a movie podcast.
Well, so I'll raise you one. I saw a video that came out about a week ago. This is interesting. This is like a new 2001 thing that I had never seen before. There's a guy named Rob Ager, and he has a channel called Collative Learning. He's like legit. He's like a Kubrick guy, and I had never heard this before. But he said that it always bothered him that during the moon sequence, while they're so specific to show that there's no gravity in space, there's perfect gravity on the moon. And when Floyd Haywood is giving the meeting at that, it's sort of like just like a meeting room. They're at that big
Yeah.
table, and he gives the speech. They're just at absolutely, totally normal Earth gravity, right? There's no floating, anything like that. But they are on the moon. They've made it to the moon. We just did the whole sequence where we got to the moon.
Mhm.
And then even when they're having the conversation about the ham sandwiches and they're talking about the pictures of the monolith, on that ship, there's perfect gravity. So he was just saying, it was a really short video. He was just saying it always bothered him. And I wonder what that means.
There's gravity
My
compression, right? I don't know.
my
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
is that it's just we hadn't made it to the moon yet, so they weren't aware of what the gravity would be. But at the same time, they could probably do the math. They knew that the moon is a quarter the size and mass affects gravity. I don't know. I think it's
Yeah, yeah.
interesting. I'm just throwing the ball out there. I just heard it the other day. I thought it was cool.
The clues are out there.
It's an interesting like nitpick, but I mean, the production on this was like quick. It was like 22 months or something like that. Like getting all of this together,
Quick.
like for a move, but for a movie with
For a
as
movie
much
that size. Yeah.
for a movie with as much intentionality behind it, that's a very short production window, and especially when you read a lot about like film production histories, there's movies that take years to even get financing. So then
Mm.
this one just kind of comes along, idea, great, approved, greenlit, written, shot, made, put out.
Well,
I
and
think
he made this right after Doctor Strangelove, so I think he was kind of like on a high note.
oh
So
yeah,
they were like, make whatever you
This
want.
was like, to steal a term from another podcast, this was his blank check.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
who's the star of the show here, fellas? Who gave the best performance in your opinion? I think we can broaden this up to not be exclusively to actors in this category this time around.
Well, I do want to shout out, like, Douglas Rain as the voice of Hal is one of the best voice performances ever in a movie, where it's just like that weird, calm energy you get from an AI that like really like makes it, and it feels very chilling when he's like talking to David, and he says, "I see no point in continuing this conversation," and just done. Like there's nothing left. And it's
It's like
just so
cold
it,
and emotion,
it's
but
so
there's
cold.
still emotional
Z-
emotion
there's
behind
zero
it.
anger to it in the voice where you feel it, where it's just like, yeah, no, no, it's like almost like customer service agent just being telling you like, no, no, sorry, we're not doing this anymore. That's it. It's just, it gets underneath your bones. You're like, holy shit, Hal.
Sean, do you have this is your 40th viewing of 2001? Is there a specific gorilla that stood out to you this time, or
It's a good question. I was hoping I could go last because I don't know. I've seen
I'll,
the movie so many times and I don't know who I think is the standout.
I think it's
I think it's the
Douglas.
monolith. I think it's the monolith is the
This
best answer I have because that's the through line of the film. But if it's not the monolith, it's Kubrick because the film doesn't have a narrator, but he's sort of subconsciously like giving us this experience and yeah, that's the best I have for you because the movie is so its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Kubrick's vision and commitment to executing that vision that kind of really comes out and clear and makes him like, uh, it's interesting for a guy with as loaded a filmography as him. Like, I feel like this is the standout achievement. This is the one that if you had to recommend, uh, recommends the wrong word. To borrow from Unspooled, which is like, we're gonna shoot 100 movies up to aliens. Like, we're only gonna pick one from each director. This is probably the Kubrick that you select, right? Like in terms of explaining to another sentient life force being like what we are able to communicate as a species. Like I think
Mhm.
this movie really exemplifies that, even though like something like The Shining is going to be far more to like a wide audience's taste, right? But this
Well,
movie I think is special and unique and thought provoking in a way that I don't want to say his other works don't share, but I think the way he communicates it is far different than anything else he's ever done.
so that's the question, right? Is it his best movie or is it just the best movie like ever? There's like a meme, right?
Yeah,
So 2001 is the best movie ever made, but it's not even the best Kubrick. And
I think I don't disagree with that take though. Like I really think that um that that is like if you had to recommend a Kubrick to somebody, you would start them off with The Shining. I'm personally a fan of Paths of Glory, so I think I might even start somebody off on that road. Like what a film.
yeah, I love Pat
Uh
Segal, yeah.
So I don't think Tommy's had that, so we might need to have you on the pod again for Paths of Glory. force Tommy to watch a black and white war movie, but I do think this movie is just like it's probably the greatest example of like because this was released by MGM, like they'd lost their power and luster then, but it's still a wide release of like American art house. Like usually European countries, Japan, the Asian markets kind of get that distinguished label now because America focuses far more on like the commercialization of a film,
Yeah.
and I think this is like the biggest like widest shining example of like to a mass audience of people of what film as an art form and a medium is capable of. And I think for that, it being that shining beacon has its standalone on Stanley Kubrick's uh, filmography. I think it really does stand apart in that way.
I did hear you. I have not seen Pass of Glory, so yeah.
All
It's
right.
great. It's so good. I actually only watched Paths of Glory for the first time this year. I just got that one.
Ooh,
Oh hell
I
yeah.
I haven't watched it in a couple of years. That we might need to have you on. Maybe we'll do a war movie month, Tommy.
Yeah,
Paths of
yeah.
Glory will be one of them.
Anytime. Anytime, guys.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, fellas. Does 2001: A Space Odyssey work as a Muppet adaptation?
No. It's
No.
it's too cold. I mean, it's not like character focused at all. I mean, I can't really see the
I'm
fit
like
in there.
they're all Kermits. You just cast every guy in this movie as Kermit. Like there's no character intentionally, I would say. Like but there's no like character conflict that would really lead to anything like that, and I just think the Muppets need that silliness, slapstickiness. It's one of these segments that works like 90% of the time, but we're at the 10% of the time where we're like, "Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no." Well, you can put an Hal homage into a skit or something, but we do not need a Muppet adaptation. Sean, do you have any differing opinion there?
I have a widely different opinion, actually, and I'll tell you
Okay, go for it.
Yes.
exactly how it
Yes,
works.
let's go.
Everything's the same, except in place of the monolith, it's just Gonzo. That's it.
Hell yeah. Amazing. 5 out of 5.
The actual
I think you could also do a sequence of like the Dawn of Man sequence, but just Muppets instead. Just like fucking hit each other over the head over and over, like slapsticky as hell.
I like that it's an incredibly serious movie, and then just Gonzo's just there.
and
Just
he
like,
is the manifestation of aliens in the Muppets.
but
So
yeah,
I can't deny that claim. I like it. I like that you had a take ready to go, fired it from the hip, and it hit. All right, fellas, review time. Give me your scores out of 5 here. Tommy, I'm gonna. This is your first viewing.
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes when I watch a movie for a second time for the pod just to refresh myself, and I was like, "Ah, God, I have to do this again." But this wasn't the case. I was at first being like, "I'm not sure how it's gonna hold up on rewatch." Turns out really fucking well. Whether it's in theaters like it was 2 weeks ago for me, or at home, this is still just a perfect movie. Like very few flaws. You have to really get yourself enveloped. No, don't put your phone in another room if you're gonna watch this movie. Don't even try to attempt to look at your phone for 1 second. 5 out of 5. This is like Kubrick's masterpiece, and I can see why this is this totem sci-fi classic it's known as.
Sean, to you.
yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me. I do think it's the best movie that was ever made. I don't know how it can be topped. I can't wait to see that movie. I hope I get to see something that's better. In like totality, because it might not be my favorite movie, but I really do think that it's just at least one of the greatest films that was ever made. And I think that if you watch it when you're 20, it's a different movie than when you're 30, and it's a different movie than when you're 40. And I
Mm.
can't wait to watch it when I'm 50, because I think as I grow as a person and as you grow as a person, you see different things in the movie, and that just can't be taken for granted. It's so good. It's a gift.
I am echoing sentiment here. 5 out of 5. which can only mean one thing. We haven't had this in a while.
And I watch the 14 Fists of McCluskey. What a picture. What a picture.
Good picture.
This is the epitome of what film can be. It can only be done by very few artists can even kind of, it's funny when you talk about somebody like Spielberg, where I think he's maybe the master of like conventional Hollywood narrative and being able to elevate that into something else. I feel like, I don't know if he's capable of 2001, and which is crazy to me, but it's just the experimentality of it, the thought provoking, the beauty of this film. It resonates with you. These sounds, these images. I saw this in theaters 8 years ago, and they popped into my brain at random points in time. Like, they live with you. They're everlasting questions about humanity. What's next? It's a theme that can always be broached time and time again, and I think this movie just, I was saying before, but like the greatest. It was an experiment, and it worked, and it paid off, and it's the greatest art house achievement in American cinema history, even in my opinion. 5 out of 5. Boys, what an episode. This was a great podcast. I
think our longest one.
Definitely our longest one. I mean, I feel like we could have gone on for another hour. Like, we barely even gotten to the production. Like,
I could literally talk for another hour about it. Yeah, but thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, Sean, do you want to tell the people where they could find you?
So if you just go on YouTube and you look up Film School Dad, you can find me. I'm on Twitter at Film School Dad. There's like an underscore. I'm not good at this part, but if you liked what you heard, come search me out. You'll find me. But I'm really excited to have been here, and this was really fun to talk to you guys about like one of my favorite movies. I really appreciate it. It was a great excuse to watch it again.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm working on a bunch of Kubrick stuff right now. I really lucked out that a Kubrick video of mine took off, so I'm working on a Shining video right now. I just recorded the audio for that this afternoon. I put my son to sleep for an early nap, and I went down to the basement and I recorded 2 hours of The Shining. And because I watched 2001 for you guys, I have a great idea for a 2001 video, so I'm going to do a 2001 video after that.
Make sure you subscribe to make sure you get the follow-up video part there. I will be looking forward to The Shining and 2001 as well. Thank you for joining and adding to the conversation. It was really great. Tommy, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media. That's at CNETPod. That's on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and we're also on Blue Sky. Podcnet.bluesky.social. You can check us on YouTube too. And also leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Helps us out, helps us grow the show. And we have 2 sponsors real quick to talk about. First up is Old Glory. OldGlory.com is where you can get great movie and music merch and even sports merch for your Mets, your Knicks, whatever sports team you love, you can find it there. And also your great like movie merch, Big Lebowski, Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, even stuff like The Office, anything you can think of. So use the promo code CNET like the way we spell in our pod. You can get 15% off at checkout. Once again, that's oldglory.com. Using promo code CNET for 15% off at checkout. Also, we are sponsoring Connecticut Cult Classics. They do great movies screenings of old movies at the Strand Theater in Seymour, Connecticut. And on June 13th, they're doing a tribute to Rob Reiner by doing a double feature of Misery and Stand By Me. I saw Stand By Me in theaters a couple months ago. It is amazing in theaters. So get your tickets if you're in the area. And once again, June 13th, you can get your tickets at ConnecticutCultClassics.com. So this is a great month for us. We just did Devil's Road Prada. We did 2001: A Space Odyssey. Timmy, I just realized this while recording. I think we have to do an episode on this. Thelma and Louise is celebrating its 35th anniversary this month. I've never seen it.
Never seen it. I'm open. I'm game.
I've never seen it.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
If you got the time, come on back.
Yeah, if you got the time.
You come on back.
You're always welcome.
You're always welcome.
Hit me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, Thelma and Louise, look forward to that. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time.